Anyway, I like to start it rolling, and then you can get into it naturally rather than just go, okay, let's talk. Okay. Nioh.
Is it Dark Souls?
Is Nioh Dark Souls? Yeah, no. Do I call you Sinow?
I have a YouTube channel by the name of Sinow, but for the purposes of this video, you can just call me Lloyd, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, and we're going to talk about Nioh because we played this a couple of months ago when it was a demo on PlayStation for like 3 or 4 days, and it came out just before or at the same time that Dark Souls came out.
Yeah, it's quite a pleasant surprise, I'd say. And both of us, like, you started doing a lot of Japanese film recently.
Yes.
And I am a Japanese studies graduate, I guess now. God, that's a weird phrase
so
to
we
say.
have a real...
Bit of a hard-on for Japan.
hard-on for Japan.
Yeah,
man.
So.
Like so many people. But so Nioh's quite interesting because it's been in development for something like a decade, and it's the new game from Team Ninja, who brought us maybe one good game in the past 20 years, which was the original Ninja Gaiden, which was really good.
None of the successors, just the original one.
2 was really, really bad. 3, I can barely remember 3. I don't think I actually played 3. And then one of them, Yaiba, was like cel shaded, and that was really bad.
They hang on somehow though, right?
Yeah.
Like, regardless of their sales, perhaps.
Ninja Gaiden's quite popular for being very, very difficult, but I always thought the first one was kind of a little bit on the sadistic side, but still fair. Mm-hmm. And I feel some of that bleeds through into Nioh, because Nioh is really difficult.
Yes, I think Nioh very much still retains that kind of early Dark Souls feel of, like, when you're being impatient and you die because of it, you usually know that, which is quite important. Apart from 1 or 2 things that I didn't like, and I think we disagree on that, but we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah.
So, whereas Dark Souls is kind of you do the area and you learn that the enemies are really slow, and you block them or you roll past their attacks and you stab them in the back. Like, the first thing that happens in the Nioh demo is that the ground is littered with like red little flashing corpses or little flashing grave mounds, and you can interact with them to summon the dead AI of a allied player or like another player. It's kind of like Dark Souls' blood splats. It's like they come alive and they brutally murder you. And when I played it, the first thing that we did was like, oh, let's fight one of these. And it was a guy with a massive hammer who just proceeded to one-shot me instantly. And I was like, oh, wow, yeah. So it's not like Dark Souls. People say there's a whole Dark Souls myth of Dark Souls is really difficult. It's not. It's just challenging. It's
quite easy, especially. Yeah. I think a lot of people, I suppose, have played so much Dark Souls over the 3 games plus Bloodborne that maybe they've forgotten the fact that now they know the systems. So you go into Dark Souls 3 and you know about, like, strength build versus dexterity build, and you know about miracles and faith and blah blah blah, right? But I suppose even the original Dark Souls, like, it's quite defensive play. You can use your shield a lot and just kind of wait for the enemies to do stuff. And I feel like in Nioh there's a lot more. First of all, the combat pace is a lot quicker. Like, the animations are like way faster than Dark Souls, where it does like a big swing and then just has like a rest for a couple of years and then comes back to fight you again. And it just feels a bit more like, if you get caught, you can really get fucked up quite badly.
Yeah, you get fucked up really quickly. Whereas in Dark Souls, you generally get fucked up by groups. The first guy that you fight the first actual enemy in Nioh is just like a little peasant, like an undead peasant or whatever, with a samurai sword. And if you let him, he will kill you without remorse. Which I get, people always leveled that to Dark Souls, like, oh, the first guy can always kill you if you're full of hubris. Whereas in Nioh, you don't need hubris; it will just kill you.
It'll just kill you anyway.
It's very fast.
I feel like you're dancing on the knife's edge a lot more in Nioh, whereas in Dark Souls, you're more kind of just waiting and seeing what happens, and when you work it out, then you kind of make your move. Which is it's more of an action feel for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Nioh is definitely, as well, for those who haven't played it, is far more complicated in its combat than Dark Souls. It operates on a really nice stance switching system, which is very similar to a game on the PlayStation 2 from about 12 years ago called Way of the Samurai, which was a little bit like, I don't know, like a Rashomon style story. Well, no, not Rashomon, Yojimbo, where you're a guy who goes into a town and you deal with all the town's problems, and the game only takes place over like 3 or 4 days, and every time you play it you can ally with different people. But the combat was very, very harsh. It's like, if you got hit because you were just wearing cloth and it was a samurai sword, you take a lot of damage. So you had to use stances to switch. So if they were doing big heavy attacks, you had to counter that by being in a low stance, which was quick, so you could dash out the way. And Nioh has these stances in it as well. You have like the really big stance and the really quick stance and the one in between, and you can switch between the stances at the end of combos. So you can do a really big hit and then switch to the low stance and dash out really, really quickly.
Right.
And that was, I thought, was very, very clever, because whereas Dark Souls has a really nice, weighty combat with good, strong fundamentals, it was a bit limited in...
There's only so many ways you can do big swing before
Yes.
it's kind of like, okay, we get it. Like, this is a big sword and this is a small sword. I feel like I didn't really get the combo system in Nioh, because I understood that there was like certain moments where you press a button to get your stamina back, but I didn't change
Yeah.
very much. I was like, oh, I like the low stance because it's really quick,
It's
so
really
I
quick,
used that a
and
lot. I was just kind of stabbing
Yeah.
people, but
Well, the way it worked was that the same button for getting your stamina back at the end of a combo, where it wasn't called stamina because that's Dark Souls thing, so it was ki.
yes.
When you get your ki back at the end of a
Ki
combo...
means energy.
Yes.
Translator's note.
To get your ki back at the end of a combo, you press R1, but also to switch stances, you hold R1 and press one of the face buttons. So it's a very kind of like fiddly system, because you know, also the same button for attacking is the same button for switching stances to certain stances. So it's kind of iffy, but what you'd learn is that, okay, so R1 gives a ki pull, so I get my stamina back, but if I switch stance at the same time, I also get my stamina back, but I change stances. So there's a really massive like tactical depth to the combat. And it also had God Hand's combo building system, where
I like that. That was good.
you could put moves at the end of combos, and it was only a demo, so you couldn't really see the vast extent of that, but like your low slash could turn into a move where you kind of did a front flip with your sword, which is just bullshit considering how slow and weighty the rest of it feels. But then your medium one had a move where you would kick your opponent, like Dark Souls.
I did enjoy kicking
Yeah.
the fuck out of samurais.
Yeah,
That
so
was
you could
fun.
so you could do your kick, and then if you switch stance, you could follow it up into the low combo, which I'm pretty sure I can put a clip in of here because it's great.
It's one of those things though that you watch like a Japanese live stream and the person who's playing it is like a master of 1,000 blades and he switches stances without even thinking about
Yes.
it, and you try it and you mess up the buttons and the character just garrots you like yesterday's fish. But
Did you play it in the cinematic mode or in the action game mode, which is a kind of strange little thing they had going on in the game?
the frame rate thing.
Yes,
Okay.
where there was a menu option to change the frame rate to 30 or 60 and change the visual quality. So you'd have better visual quality at the lower frame.
I found that very weird because I started off playing it with like the variable frame rate and I thought it looked like shit, and then I limited it, quote unquote, to
Yeah.
60 frames per second, and it felt very smooth, and
Yes.
it felt like the gameplay got better because there wasn't like a variation in like inputs and stuff. But
Even though this isn't a Dark Souls video or a Bloodborne video, I'm going to do the boring thing and rag on
here
the
we
frame
go.
rate.
Here we go. All right,
Bloodborne-
Total Biscuit. Here we go.
Bloodborne would be a better game if it was at 60 frames per second, for one reason and one reason only, and it's the same reason that 60 frames per second in Nioh was so much better, and it's because the button presses are far more responsive. The parry timings in Nioh are really narrow, and so they're kind of loose in Bloodborne, but having those extra frames is just better.
Yeah, it's a common thing that like sometimes when you get hit, they still give you like a small window to press the dodge button anyway and
Yeah.
have it count, because the way that we interpret things is incorrect because we're horrible, incompetent
Not-
flesh bags
yeah,
and not
flashbacks.
AI. But I think it's important for like the feel of the game that there's a consistency, I guess.
Yeah, there wasn't a consistency for me at 30 frames. I went through a very long period trying to get used to it, pressing, like doing the attacks, because a lot of the combo attacks that you have to press the attack button followed up by another button that might not be an attack button really, really quickly, and sometimes it just would not register, even if you're pressing it really, really fast. and then you do it at 60, and suddenly you're much more consistent with it. And I don't think that's a placebo thing. I think that's just a technical thing.
Yeah.
Full stop.
That's fair enough. I mean, it is an alpha, so everything we say has like that
Yeah.
that tinge, that salt of alpha.
But it'd be really interesting if it does come out with those variable settings, because that might make it the first console game that I know of that's had that as an option. Obviously, on PC you can have whatever frame rate you want.
The whole world's your
The whole
oyster,
world-
just
you
as
can
soon as
limit
Durante
it.
fixes it or
Yeah.
whatever DS1 fix comes out.
But this might be quite interesting, and I am looking forward to it coming out, because even though Teenage Ninja haven't got the greatest pedigree, the demo I thought was very, very good. It was huge because you didn't even finish it.
I downloaded it at about 6 to 7 a.m. in the morning after an all-nighter because my friend said I thought it was going to be one of those demos where once it's on your console you can play it.
Yeah.
And then I realised that it's one of those ones where you have to be online the whole time and they take it away from you.
Yes.
Like your favourite toy gets snatched off. So I had a very brief but I really enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
thought it was good.
I think me and my flatmate played it for about 12 or 18 hours in total, and
Yeah.
I didn't finish it. I got to the boss of the second mission, because it's not like Dark Souls. Although the levels are very...
You sure about that?
Uh-huh.
You have mentioned it quite a lot so far, but yeah.
The levels are very twisty and turny in that there are shortcuts in them that they're going to make the developer blush, because it's just Miyazaki shortcuts all over the place. It's like, oh look, here's a shrine, and I'm going to then fight through 20 hours of horrible enemies just to unlock the door next to the shrine, which instantly takes me back to it. And the first shortcut you unlock in the game is a ladder, so it's like, it's a massive nod and a wink
Yes.
to Dark Souls. But also then the second level is an entirely different setting, although it's still like pitch black at night, but it calls it a mission, and it makes it look like there might be like a world map that you go back to from missions, and you can upgrade and stuff. There's a hell of a lot going on.
I mean, that's fair enough. And there's 3 weapons mainly, right?
Yes,
The katana, the spear,
3 classes, yeah,
and then like the axe.
axe or hammer.
Yeah.
So it leads me to believe that there might be a different thing to replace the katana and a different thing to replace the spear later on, because they're functionally the same, but they do different. Like one's crushing damage, and one's slicing damage.
Fascinating.
And in the second level, then you actually do fight enemies that are made out of stone, and you need the crushing weapon because everything else just such tiny damage to them, which is interesting. I like that. There's a lot. But the thing is, there's probably too much going on, because the one complaint I have, and I don't want it to be a complaint because I think they can fix it, but in a demo at least, there's a lot of items. There's menu screens followed by menu screens, and your weapons have durability, so suddenly you're running around with 40 samurai swords, and you're just picking up another samurai sword, and then you're going, is this slightly better than my other one? I'm going to equip it, and then it breaks, and you can't buy items, so stuff just keeps breaking.
You do start to resemble the shopkeeper from Resident Evil 4 after a while in that game. You begin to just... the thing is as well, accruing the same type of sword because you want to use it after it breaks feels kind of shitty. Yeah. You don't want that. You don't want to just be carrying around the same katana times a million because you know that it's going to break after you use it for a bit, and then you just re-equip the same one. And there is like a sort of Diablo-esque random element generator on them.
There is, yeah.
So
you can get some really cool ones, and they have rarity, just like all like Destiny, Diablo, Borderlands. Everything's got the Division. I think even has like purple hats,
that color,
yellow hats.
Yeah, the color.
So yellow
thing.
weapons aren't the best in this though. I think it goes blue, yellow, pink. I didn't see anything higher than pink. No, white, blue, yellow, pink. Yeah. And some of them will have cool effects. So like you'll have a sword that will do poison damage or something like that, and one that does fire damage, and they're quite cool. But the problem is they break. They break so quickly, and repair items are limited. And the same happens for your armor. But there's a lot going on. Like you can have like Dark Souls, there's 3 classes of armor, but they're actually genuinely distinct. So it's not like it's just heavy because of its weight limit. It's actually called heavy, and it will look like big lacquered samurai armor. Whereas the light armor will be much, much lighter and maybe have little bits of armor plate here and there.
You can go from peasant to like heavily armored lobster.
And it
samurai armor.
It changes the way that you fight. Cause
I do like that, and I like the random element system. Some people don't because they say, you can get lucky, but that's fun because sometimes you get nothing and your friend gets a whole treasure trove, and you just have to struggle through your poverty and learn how to fight.
Just like real life.
Just like real life.
If we look back to the bloodstains that are other people that you are playing the game and have died to an enemy, if you fight them and you win, you can before you fight them, you can see what equipment they have, and they have a chance of dropping that class of equipment or that specific unique weapon when you kill them. So what they did in the demo is they had developer ghosts, which you could tell because they had a red name instead of a white name, and they were like unique enemies that would have special weapons and things, and you could fight those and have a higher chance of finding cool equipment.
I couldn't beat the ghosts.
No,
though.
they
They
were
absolutely
really
destroyed
hard.
me every single turn.
And that is because this game is really hard.
Genuinely, I feel like I used to see quite a lot of people when Dark Souls 3 came out on Twitter. I follow certain people who were kind of moaning about it, being like, "Oh, it's so unfair," and "Oh, I feel like this is really, I don't know, fucking problematic game design, blah blah blah," and all that. And I was like, really don't think Dark Souls 3 at this point is that tough anymore. Maybe because, like I said before, people have kind of solved it, they've worked it out or whatever. But I feel like, at least with Bloodborne, you had to be much more like on your wits.
Yeah.
And I feel like Nioh has much more of that feel, where you can't just sort of sit there for ages and wait for the obvious moment where the enemy has a little sleep or it gets tired because it swung its arms 15 million times at you.
Although you can see their stamina bars, which is much nicer, because then you can actually exhaust enemies. Because there's another thing it doesn't share in common with Dark Souls. Yeah, if you get exhausted, the game kind of says, okay, so you've used all your stamina, but instead of the Dark Souls thing where if you press a button to swing again, you just, it means that your stamina doesn't regain for a little bit longer. In Nioh, if you try and swing again when you've got no stamina, you just fuck yourself and you just like have a little old man squat and go, oh, jeez boy, and then you get really slow for ages and you can't do anything, and the enemies will just rip you to pieces, and that feels really unfair until you fight enemies that have really big weapons like axes and hammers, and they do the same thing, and then suddenly you're like, oh well, these guys aren't very hard, I just have to dodge a couple of attacks, and suddenly they can't retaliate. And then it has a mechanic where you can just walk up to them and do a grab, which generally just involves you just stabbing fuck out of them with a samurai sword.
Jumping on their face and doing a twirl.
Wailing away.
That's probably the thing that fucked me the most in the demo, for sure, was going absolutely balls to the walls mental, because that's how I play Dark Souls, with like small stabby weapons. I just over and over, and then I ran out of stamina and I'd have my old man moment and I'd have to think about my kids for a while, and then I would get chopped down like the Ronin samurai.
I remember when I could just swing for hours. Now I can't.
And now I'm too old and samurai-ish.
Well, he's already got his Geralt white hair, because he's William Adams, who is a genuine historical figure who really went to Japan and really fought monsters from the yokai dimension.
Also played by Tom Cruise in a certain popular movie about being
film.
Something about the final samurai.
That
perhaps?
one, the end terminal samurai.
The penultimate samurai,
Samurai.
less popular sequel to The Last Samurai.
I don't really have a problem with them using that idea for a character, because it is a genuinely interesting bit of history, but they are just going crazy and mixing it in with like Onimusha style zombies and monsters. But again,
you find zombies very quickly after the first bit. I feel like they know that the game will be sold internationally, so perhaps somebody within the development team has been a bit like, this is very Japanese, and perhaps to the point of alienation. So
I was thinking when we were talking about the loot and the menus and everything that's in this game, if there would be like a developer timeline, and you can just go along it and just see what games came out and were suddenly in vogue that they just cribbed elements from. So like Destiny and Borderlands, like across that period, because it's been in development since those games have come out, so they probably just went, let's put loot in it now. Put loot in it.
Destiny was surprisingly popular, despite my viewpoint on it. People continue to play it.
They do.
Against medical advice.
There's no reason to play it, and people still like, I finished the last raid and I was like, well, that's me done, bye guys. Alright, I'll still play it.
But people still talk about the DLC coming out, all that.
And so then The Witcher was 2 years ago, no, a year ago now? Last year with The Witcher? Yeah, The Witcher was last year, so maybe that's when they were like, guys with white hair are so hot right now.
Beefcakes with white hair are in.
We've done a whole, like, this is 20 years since Final Fantasy VII came out. The Platinum Blondes are getting there. experience again. It's cool to be white guy with white hair.
Has the games industry changed at all from the mid-90s?
No.
Some would say no. Only the graphic fidelity has changed.
The graphic. This is like Onimusha, but in HD, which is... I'm excited. I'd play that. I'm looking forward to this. I think it'll be good. And we're a month late talking about it, but it doesn't really matter because it's to be announced.
The experience remains with us for a reason.
No one knows when it's going to come out.
It's like reading a good book.
Probably. But
it's like reading an okay book.
It's reading a book that has been submitted early and it's got lots of errors with it, and you're just praying that when you send it back to them that you're like, okay, so please just fix all the instances where you've replaced L's with G's, and they're like, maybe. Well, and also going to make the font readable? Nah, not going to do that.
Yeah, that one, we live and pray for the font becoming readable on most televisions, I feel.
Yeah, I thought we were past this.
But there we go.
After Dead Rising.
No. Well, the new Hitman continue to be unreadable for myself. But yes, definitely worth a punt, I'd say.
Yeah, well, I would say go and download the demo if it was available. But
go back a month in the past.
Go back a month in the past when you've listened to this, and then download the demo, or wait until the beta comes out, because that was an alpha demo. So I imagine closer to release there'll be a nice beta demo, and it might have a different area on it. But just prepare yourself, because it is really, really difficult. It's like Bloodborne. It asks you to gamble, but instead of with your life meter, it asks you to gamble with your stamina meter, which is a much scarier prospect because it's too easy to overextend yourself. But then the combat system's built to help you recharge that.
That's true. If you're the kind of boring arsehole who derives your own ego from being good at video games, this is definitely
love it. Yeah, man.
Me? How dare you? Well, that's true. That's true. If you're me, buy this game.
I'm trying to think of anything I've played this as genuinely sadistic and hard as Nioh, and there's not many things.
I tend to avoid certain games that are deliberately sadistic, because I feel like it's a bit... I want the game to feel like it's just been made to be kind of difficult, but not like in a very deliberate way.
Yeah,
rather than like, this is the hard game.
Nioh needs tweaking. Like, there was a good video that someone did of how Bloodborne mobs are actually really cleverly spaced so that you can engage them in small groups, and you always have the danger of it spilling over into a horrible brawl. But if you're clever with it, you can have a nice little fight with 2 or 3 people, and because you're so fast and so equipped to fight these people, you can dash in between their stupid slow attacks, and you actually get really good at it. Whereas in Nioh, if you aggro an enemy, there's every real chance that random enemies from like 20 foot away will just hear you through a wall, and then they'll skirt all the way around the terrain and suddenly find you. And there's a lot of it's such a mixed bag. It's like it asks you to kind of like aggro enemies, because you get a bow and arrow, which is kind of okay, and you can do headshots and stuff with it, and you get shurikens as well. There's so much stuff in this game. So you can pull enemies towards you, and that it's kind of like Dark Souls in that you have to learn how to pull enemies.
It's surprisingly reminiscent of EverQuest and the first kind of generation of popular MMOs.
Learning how to aggro.
You have to be able to like kind of throw like a small rock at someone to annoy that one person without their pals realizing that there's a fight going on.
Because I'll try and put some clips right at the end here of us fighting. Like just in the second area, there's like a guarded samurai and 2 peasant guys that are like Ashigaru. Is that right?
Ashigaru? Yeah.
Yes. I played Shogun at war. I remember
that. Ashigaru every 5 seconds.
Yeah. There's a section where you fight like one armoured guy and his 2 little peons are like resting, and if they hear you, they'll come and fight, and you can beat them in a group of 3, but you have to be so good at the combat to dodge in between them and parry at the right time so that you're invulnerable through the combo strings and stuff. Yeah. It's so satisfying when you do it, but the game really needs a tweak to either how much damage the enemies do or take, and vice versa to the player maybe. Like, swords should do a lot of damage. I like that they do, but maybe you should just be able to take more than 3 hits from the lowliest of peasants before you fucking collapse. Cause
a little bit. Even when you level up, you still have that.
You're so weak.
You're just like a little paper samurai, really. Even when you're wearing quite a lot of armor, it still feels very... I mean, like I said before, you feel like you're dancing on the knife's edge, but it's difficult. And I feel that the game somewhat inadvertently rewards certain weapons that have the ability to hit more than one person easily.
Yeah, the spears, medium and heavy stance. No, medium and light stance let you slash a lot. and then the heavy stance was good for focusing down people.
Mm.
But that's a cool consideration to take. Like, you can do some big swings that hit 3 people, but you've staggered or knocked out the 2 weak guys, and then you switch to the heavy stance to focus down the other guy who isn't staggered. Is a cool thing, but it's so fast and so difficult that your brain often can't keep up with your buttons, or vice versa, and you really struggle.
And it's more difficult in Dark Souls to hit multiple people.
It is,
with a weapon. Because in Dark Souls you kind of flail towards them, and you usually have a couple of people with numbers appearing above them. But in this,
and poise isn't a thing in this game, and it needs to be, because you often can't interrupt people, which sucks.
Yes.
But hopefully it will come out.
Hopefully it will come out.
Hopefully it will come out before the end of the year,
Development
because
hell.
I'm looking forward to playing it, and then maybe we can do a video about it to see if it's any better than the demo.
We can look back and
We
say
can do a
we were
retrospective.
wrong.
We were wrong. This game's horrible.
This is
oh
a
my
shit
God.
game.
Why did we
etc.
ever think Team Ninja were going to make another good game after they've given us no evidence towards the contrary?
You forgive someone and they throw it back in your face.
Right back in your face.
And that's Nioh.
That's Nioh.
Maybe.
And that's us.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, I guess. Go and check out Lloyd's YouTube channel, although probably if you're listening to this, you'll hear from there. So
In which case, just fucking subscribe,
just-
alright?
Yeah, or please subscribe to us, because we don't make a lot of videos, but
You're good
we
boys.
do make. We're good boys.
You're good boys.
Maybe if we have more money and more time, we'll make more. But until then,
See you next time.
yes, goodbye.
Goodbye.